Hey everybody, it's Brian Von Vie. Let me paint a picture for you. A handful of guards and city watchmen can handle some low-level characters, but how do you actually deal with higher-level characters as a DM without the obviousness of having high CR monsters or high-level NPCs? Yeah, that's right. We're talking about how do you enforce laws in your cities when dealing with high-level parties. Now, I'd imagine if they're stirring up enough trouble, the king or whatever authority will send in high-level specialists to deal with them. Kind of like assassins, mercenaries, bounty hunters, that sort of thing. But before we continue, here's a little word from our sponsor, Aravan's Guide to Death and Beyond. Aravan's Guide to Death and Beyond is an upcoming 350-page tome of dark spells, unholy monsters, arcane craftable items, and undying mega bosses for D&D 5th edition. That answers one question. Can a party go on after a TPK? It's packed with plenty of new content and original mechanics like an undead grafting system, an undying ship that you can upgrade across your adventures, 8 new races, 10 mega bosses, and the profane lairs they dwell in, arcane familiars, dark subclasses, and everything you need to craft an accursed tale for your players to enjoy. Enter a world where the power of death is weakened. Watch your comrades fall, only to rise again as an undead, and embark on a campaign that takes your party from level 1 to level 10, shrouded in the horrors of a setting-agnostic story sure to grip your whole table. The Kickstarter is now live. Support the release to gain access to rewards like a free Liquid Core Soul River D20, superb discounts off the final release, highly detailed original miniatures, and more. Links are in the description below. There is always a bigger fish. You may be a super powerful party of 4 level 13s, but you aren't the only powerful people. Everything from a group of 4 to 6 super powerful characters dispatched by a powerful group, especially if they are specifically built to counter the player characters, or even 1 to 2 powerful characters leading a large squad of soldiers can still probably win. I've also found that the threat of taking their assets also works. If they are that powerful, they probably have some name recognition and assets they have acquired through their adventures. When they return to their base and find out the local guards have confiscated their castle and all their loot stored there, well, I'm sure they'll tone it down a bit. I have a homebrew faction a player invented called the Tribunal of Creeds. They're basically an order of high-level NPCs that I've made a custom sheet for. Here's the rundown. Whatever level my PCs are, the TOC agents always are going to be 2 to 3 levels over them until about level 15, when they'd surpass them, and they come in equal numbers to the party. This is, of course, if I'm trying to rein them back from story-destroying activities, or trying to do things that go against their own character's nature. Yeah, the party can murder ye old average guard, yarr, but these guys would fold the party. I've only done it once, but considering how little I've played, that's a lot more than I thought I'd have to. I don't actually like doing this. Why aren't high-level NPCs an option? Unless this is a fairly mundane world, a level 10 party is certainly capable of dunking on the average town guard, but shouldn't be nearly as strong as the high-end individuals in the setting. Baldur's Gate, Waterdeep, or Neverwinter, they don't just roll over and die the minute a high CR creature like an adult or ancient dragon or some powerful lich looks towards them. So why should a high tier 2, low tier 3 party be a real threat? There are logically going to be contingencies for this sort of thing. Well, how do we handle law enforcement in real life? You have the regular city guard for regular city threats, just like you have regular cops for regular stuff. You have high-level elite battle mage teams for high-level threats, just like we have SWAT for high-level situations. And let's not forget that if it's a really serious threat, you call up the National Guard and have them bring tanks. Action economy can account for a lot here, actually. There's an upper limit to the number of mid-level guards a PC can kill before they just get rolled to death, and a huge city might just have enough. A unit of archers all shooting at a PC can turn them into a pincushion unless they are behind a wind wall. Level 10 is a hero or villain of the realm territory. The local town guard might not have a group capable of defeating them, but the realm probably does. So they dumpster the local guard a few times and they alert the crown, who sends in reinforcements specifically to deal with these outlaws who are making a mockery of the king's authority. Now, Waterdeep has a pretty good setup for this. There are different tiers of guards to respond to different levels of threats. So, to answer your question more specifically, I would say that the first responders to a crime will likely be the low-level rank-and-file guards. Patrols in general may be more or less common in certain areas, but in general, at least 4 would arrive together. It is at this point that you need to determine the response time for the next tier of guard, whatever that may be. Now, in Waterdeep, it may be Griffin Cavalry or the City Watch. While these stronger forces respond, there may be more lower-tier guards showing up independently or alongside them. This continues as needed unless the party's rampage continues to escalate. Now again, for Waterdeep, their last line of defense is Force Grey, an elite team of high-level adventurers that will absolutely dispatch a party of level 10s. So in general, if you just keep throwing guards at them and escalating the threat, even a small town should reasonably have a few strong people to fight back with. If a party does raise a village, they may win the fight, but they'll have much more powerful enemies sent after them in due time. Here's an old school answer. This is what alignments are for. If your characters are evil, then there are good aligned adventurers, knights errant, and crusading paladins who will come to defend the innocent. If your characters are good and they're breaking the laws willy-nilly, if the class they have has any alignment restrictions, if they have deities or patrons that would not appreciate their behavior. Oh, I didn't start imposing in-game penalties from these sources. I still use experience points for character level up, and I award them at the end of each session with a breakdown of encounter and roleplay XP. Players who start to lag behind the party in level because they see a few sessions with 0 roleplay XP start to straighten up. If the whole party is acting out in ways that seem immersion breaking and they don't take the game seriously, then it may be time to just reevaluate how I'm DMing, because they aren't engaged and entertained. And at the worst case, it may be an end to the campaign. Societal quarantine to an extent depending on the circumstances of the characters. For example, you steal a pie out of a baker's window at level 1. Guard catches you and forces you to pay a fine and throws you out of town. Now for level 10, it really depends on what a level 10 crime is. Maybe it starts with just stealing the pie, but the PCs evade justice with their abilities as level 10 characters. Or maybe they commit a level 10 crime like offing the king or stealing the church's most holy relic. Then you've just become your in-universe villains. Accurate woodcuts of the party appear in every town. Taverns are going to refuse to host you. Windows shudder when you walk down the street. No merchant will trade with you, and not even the Thieves Guild will touch you with a 10-foot pole. Knights and paladins and other champions of the land start showing up just to challenge you. And these are real heroes too, people who have done incredible acts of service to the crown. Now if the party still refuses to change their ways and pursue some sort of path to redemption, armies get involved. Maybe the gods even begin to intervene, and holy avatars with busted powers begin to appear. Now, it could be a fun path to play down, assuming that everyone on board is conscious of this, but sometimes it seems like a few players out there actively resent the idea that actions might have any sort of consequences. If you ignore the rules because you're too powerful, you're just a villain in that society's view. You'll be feared even if you're nice, hunted even though it's by low-level NPCs that will get killed. The government won't ever stop trying because it has to enforce the laws of the land. Think about how we view modern-day villains. The powerful, whether via family, connections, or wealth, are largely viewed poorly. The question you have to ask is, who is being inconvenienced by the PC's actions? If the answer is some peasants, then the PCs will probably just get away with it. Now, on the other hand, if the PCs are interfering with the local economy and political stability, then a more powerful individual is likely to step in and deal with the situation. Consider what would happen in the modern world if the PCs decided, I don't know, to start selling drugs. If they're just dealing small amounts to their friends, it probably won't attract any attention. If their operation is big enough, however, that average people notice, they are likely to get a visit from the cops, possibly due to a tip from a competitor. If they outsmart or otherwise defeat the cops, one of two things will happen. Either a crime lord steps in and makes them an offer they can't refuse, wink wink, or the DEA shows up with more firepower than some armies and take them down. Your average cop or city guard isn't going to mess with a powerful and well-connected individual directly, but they will serve as eyes and ears. One way or another, the PCs will end up hounded by a powerful entity because there is always a more powerful entity who is sick of their nonsense. It may take a while, but trust me, it'll happen. For petty crime, functionally, high-level PCs are basically above the law. However, I imagine most nations have a sort of special force whose job is to handle special threats. Often this will be monsters, but this would also help manage wizards and adventurers who prove a problem for the state. Why wouldn't a king have some high-level soldiers or problem solvers? I take the old-school D&D approach. Peasants are level 0, always. Even guards are only level 1 or 2. If the players are high level and causing trouble, the social impacts and ability to get things done will hurt more than some combat scenes as an actual punishment. For example, no one will want to sell to them or deal with them. They don't want to give them information, cast spells for them, train them, etc. Remember, in old school D&D, you needed to pay a trainer to level up. This controlled murder hobo-y by allowing DMs to deny players a level up until they apologize to the townsfolk. If they're being really bad, I just end the campaign. Or if I think I can salvage the situation, I will send an avatar of a god at them or someone else who is incredibly powerful and interested in law and order. Startlingly efficient neighborhood evacuation procedures. This is mostly directed at folks who are getting murder hobo-y. Cool fight is a win state. But if you've been mowing down guards and civilians, everything interesting just sorta goes away. Can't kill and murder random shopkeepers if they and all their wares are oddly nowhere to be found. Now, diegetically, the kingdom knows there are badass ultra warriors with short attention spans. Better to assassinate them in their sleep, right? That's just if I'm feeling vindictive when I should actually be discussing out of game. If the party actually has good in-game reasons for violating the law, I tend to put up a token force of guards with the externally stated expectation that the win condition of the fight is escape, and that going for the kill will have long-lasting consequences even if they escape. The guards, in turn, are primarily going to capture and disable, which makes the power economy a bit different. Now, one cool thing to stick in the bigger, older, quirkier cities is to have the streets also be riddled with guard or knowledgeable local triggerable traps. For example, a guard slightly distant from the combat presses on an innocuous brick, and a fountain next to the players spits out bird lime. Deck saves! Stuff like that. Long-term negative consequences. Let's just say that they get into trouble in a small town. The guards tell them to stop, but they don't, so the guards try to arrest them. So they kill the guards, and now the guards are gone. A few more guards arrive as backup, so they kill them too. Now in such a small town, that's all the guards, so problem solved, right? Well, the townspeople scream, run inside, and lock their doors. A few retired guards and particularly buff farmers take up arms, and the party has to kill them too, or flee. Regardless, they are never allowed back in that city for obvious reasons. A week or so later, they arrive in a larger city, where they find sketches of them posted on fences and tavern walls. Someone studies them closely before recognizing them and immediately alerts the guards, who are much stronger and more numerous than the other town's guards. Now, let's just say they kill several and escape with their lives, only to find that every city in the region has been made aware of the dangerous fugitive serial killers. They cannot enter populated areas without being attacked on sight, and they regularly have bounty hunters and assassins attacking them in the night. What can I say? I'm pretty cutthroat when it comes to my players treating my NPCs like NPCs instead of the real people that they are. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and let us know in the comments down below. How do you enforce laws in your cities when dealing with high-level parties? Love you all. See you next time. Bye for now.